Hi, ladies and gents. You're welcome to another episode of Selfscape podcast. I'm so glad and excited to be here. I hope that you liked the last episode. I hope that you enjoyed the last episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. Somebody told me something funny today. Not today, the conversation started the day before. I made a tweet on Twitter that kind of went, I think, viral. If I can say that, but it just gained a lot of attention and I muted it because I was tired of seeing the notifications. I was tired. And so I didn't know that at the time I had muted, I think it was like on 4.6k likes. So I muted it and somebody DM'd me with the tweet and said, "Oh my god, you have gone viral." And then I checked and it was like on 7 something k likes. And I'm like, Then I told the person like, "Oh, I didn't even know because I had muted the tweet." And then the person said something funny to me. The person said, now you're an influencer." I said I am not an influencer. I don't think that I am. I have never seen myself as one. I just made a random tweet. Like I don't even get that much engagement on my tweets on a normal day. So it just happens sometimes when I just put something out. Maybe it resonates with a lot of people, then it gains traction. But on a normal day, I'm not influencing anything. I don't think I am. So the person then pointed out that, "Oh, but you have a podcast, you read, you're in a book club, you talk about books, and then you also have the Jesus Talks media. You are kind of influencing people, or you kind of have an influence, and I think you should leverage that." And I was like, you know what? I've actually never seen it that way. That I have a platform or some form of expression, and I am kind of influencing people with whatever I put out through those platforms. I have actually never looked at it that way. And I had to sit back and say, okay, I see that, but I don't think that the influencer tag is appropriate for me as a person. I don't think I want to be associated with the tag. There's nothing wrong with the tag. There's nothing wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being an influencer or being an influencer makes you a bad person or anything. No, please, I'm not saying that. It's actually cool, but I don't think that I have reached a level where I can say, "Oh, I'm an influencer." Maybe I'm looking at it from numbers. Maybe I'm looking at it from, I don't know how I'm looking at it, but I don't think that that applies. But I kind of see where they're coming from, and I understood their perspective. To be very honest, I can say with my full chest, I have recommended books to people and they have read it. So in a way, I've influenced your reading decision. I don't even talk about books on Twitter as much as I talk about books on my WhatsApp, right? So everybody on my WhatsApp knows that I read a lot, and that's where I divulge all my book recommendations, books I'm currently reading, share my to be read list, and all those things, right? So that's where a lot of the discourse is happening. And I can say for a fact that a lot of people have started reading more because of that. I've had people text me to say, "Oh, I had decided to start reading more. What are some books I can start reading?" Or somebody text me to say, "Oh, I want to start reading again. I haven't read in a while. Give me some recommendations." Or even people, I will read a book, I'll share it, and I'll share my review because I review books a lot. And then people would text me and say, "Oh, can I then read the book since this is your review?" And then they give me back their review like, "Oh yeah, it was great," and stuff. So I do know that in that regard, if we're looking at it from that lens, I would say that I have influenced people to read more. Yes. Then the person mentioned, what else they mentioned? My podcast. I don't know if I'm an influence in my podcast because, to be very honest, I didn't create this podcast to influence anybody. I didn't make my podcast to take up space, or I don't know, to become like this gang podcaster. No, this is my safe space. This is like a digital audio diary for me. This is just a place where I come to just share my thoughts with a group of people and just be able to talk, right? So my podcast is not necessarily a thing that I would say, or let me monetize, or let me make money off this, or I'm influencing through this. And if you get blessed by some of the things I say, if it changes you, if it helps you be a better person, if you glean knowledge from what I share, great, hallelujah, thank God. But that's not the goal. The goal is just for me to be able to find an outlet, and that's what my podcast serves as. So it's not necessarily me trying to influence anybody. I'm not doing that. And then for the Jesus Talks media, to be very honest, I will say that when I started the Jesus Talks media, I think I need to say more often, it wasn't for influence. It wasn't me trying to gain any form of popularity or trying to become known or trying to become popular. Or It's still not any of those things. The reason I started the Jesus Talks Media, or one of the reasons the Jesus Talks Media is here, is to clean up space, to separate the wheat from the chaff, right? And so everything I'm doing is in alignment with that purpose. I don't necessarily think I want to use that as an avenue to gain fame. I'm not looking for fame. I'm not. So that's why I would say that I don't think I'm an influencer, because when I think about the reasons I do the things I do, it doesn't really align. And I'm not saying anybody, somebody just woke up and was like, oh, I'm going to be an influencer, so I have to do this and this and that. And maybe it just happened for them. They're creating content and people just started to resonate and decide to gain an audience and following. Great. For me, that's not an option on the table. Like that's not even something I'm considering. That's not something I think, oh yeah, I want to have. If anything, the only reason I would say I want access to anybody is just so that the work becomes easier. That's the only reason. Just so we're reaching more people and we're going through doors that we ought to be going through, and just like doing the work that we ought to be doing, if anything. So yeah, now that I think about it, I don't think, influence, like I'm not sure that's my prerogative. Like I'm not sure that's my I don't think that's my goal. That's not it for me. I mean, if it comes, great, but like that's not my goal. That's not why did I start off this podcast so strong, or this episode so strong. I have no idea, right? Honestly, I don't know why I started the way I started, but because that's not what I wanted to talk about. Okay, so maybe it is a part of what I want to talk about, because I realized recently that I've been wanting to, people invite me to your podcast, so like invite me to your events and stuff like that. And I know that I have knowledge to share, but I don't know why. I think it's just a FOMO thing when I think about it. Because I'm now asking myself, so is it how people view me, or is this what I want? Because now that the person has mentioned this thing, I'm not thinking about it. My desire to want to go to people's events and to want to have to want to be on panels and to want to have conversations with people and stuff like that and share my thoughts on people's podcasts is not aligning with what this person is saying. And so if I don't want that for myself, why then am I thinking about this thing? Right? I don't know. My head is just in a lot of places. But yeah, I think one of the reasons I'm saying this is because I've been getting some invites to speak at certain places or to speak in certain places, and I've now been thinking about it. Like, I don't think I'm a good fit for all of these things. Like, I'm just a girl. Like, I don't want to be. I don't want to be in anybody's view. Like, I don't want to be in the public eye. I'd rather just not be known and to keep doing my work than to be known. The anxiety, just the thoughts that people are going to get to know me, just the thoughts that people are going to want to be a part of my life, just the thought of it already scares me. And then now, like, the realization, like, oh, I'll be on somebody's podcast, or oh, I'll be called, like, nah, I don't think that that's the life that is called for me. I'm a very, very introverted person. All this drama that I used to do on my podcast, it's just this podcast that sees it. Because like I said, the podcast is sort of an outlet, right, for me, because I'm just too homebody-ish, if that's a word. And so I just needed some form of, let me at least talk to somebody every week. So I'm not sure, because now I've gotten invited to, well, the first one was for work, so I will say that's fair. I mean, talking about my career and talking about work and giving advice to business owners, I think that's okay. That's something I like to do in marketing. That's why I'm in marketing. That's why I love marketing and stuff. So I know that, okay, that's fair, that's fine. But then talking about my faith walk, talking about me, talking about what I'm building. So this will be the third invite. And as the third invite, the second invite in terms of faith and in terms of, oh, you're building the Jesus Talks Media, or you're doing this, or you're doing that. I want to glean and I want to hear your perspective. It scares me. I won't lie. I'm scared. I think that I already said yes, so obviously I can't say no. But I think that moving forward, I don't think I'll be as open-minded to go. I don't know. It's just scary, so I don't think I'll be as open-minded. But anyway, the reason for this episode, or what we're supposed to talk about today, I'm actually supposed to be doing a Q&A. So I have a bunch of questions that I had asked some time ago for people to send me questions if they had questions for me, and that I wanted to answer all their questions. And I have 3 questions here from somebody that she has sent it a while ago, and I was going through my inbox and I saw it. I'm like, oh yeah, I did ask a question. So how did I miss this? So I mean, it's never late than, I mean, what's that word? Better late than never, right? So we're here, and let's do this Q&A, and let me answer all the questions. If you have questions for me, if you think this is something you always want me to do on the pod, feel free to send me an email, selfscapepodcasts@gmail.com, or you can send me a DM on Twitter, or send Selfscape a DM on Twitter. Anyone that works for you, or on Instagram, just like reach out. Essentially, just reach out, send an email, or send a DM, and let me do an episode answering your questions. So these are questions from Shane, right? And so I'm going to be answering all three questions as much as I can, as honestly as I can, because there's a question there that I really do not want to answer, but I will do it for the culture. For the pod, for my ladies and gents, I will do it. And I will answer this question as honestly as I can, and just be truthful. So yeah, I think my anxiety for answering questions kind of became more evident after I saw these questions, and then I got the invite to the podcast. So yeah, basically I've been invited to speak on somebody's podcast, and so I'm going to be speaking on somebody's podcast real soon. In case you see anywhere, please call my attention to it. Right. So she asked 3 questions. I'm going to say all 3, and then I'm going to try my best to answer them right. So the first question is, how do you manage keeping the bad content out, or being seen and not being fed everything there is on the internet as a social media manager? So she's asking me a question about career. 2, how do you deal with hurt and heartbreak? This is a question about relationships. And then 3, any tips on what one can do to continue being on fire for God, especially when everything happening around you is demoralizing? This is a question on faith. Okay, I'm going to try to be as transparent. I think I'm setting myself up by answering these questions, but let's see. I'll try to be honest. I'll try. God help me. Why am I getting anxious? Okay, so how do you manage to keep the bad content out, or stay sane and not be fed with everything there is on the internet as a social media? At first, I think like the first 1.5 year of me being a social media manager, maybe the first 2 years, because I've been going on 3 + 4 years now. I think the first 2 years, I didn't set boundaries, right? I knew there were things that I didn't want to see, and I knew that. Okay, so let me just say this. You should know that my Instagram and my Twitter is curated right now. So initially, my Twitter wasn't really curated, but my Instagram was. So, and again, also Instagram algorithm had a thing where it's what you like and what you check out consistently that you always see, right? So obviously, I was always saying things that I wanted to see, but still, you see some things. So I didn't have boundaries then, but now I do have boundaries. That time when I first started off, because obviously you have to be on socials all the time, sometimes doing research, sometimes having to engage with content and stuff like that. I was online almost every day, and I was online almost every hour of the day. That's crazy. The only time that I was not really online were Saturdays and Sundays, right? But I was online Monday to Friday, and it was really bad. Mentally, it wasn't good for me. As a person, I was spending so much time online, I was consuming so much information and so much stuff, but I wasn't really consuming that much of a bad that's bad English. I wasn't really consuming bad content per se, because Christian girl, right? So I tried as much as possible to regulate what I was watching. But yeah, I was spending so much time online, and at the time a lot of nasty songs and stuff was trending. So I was always I was trying to glean so much information, every blog, every this, every that, which was bad. And so I did that for like the first 1.5 years. But now I don't do that anymore. Now I hardly come online. That's the funny thing. And a lot of people don't know that. There was a time I wasn't on Instagram for like months. I wasn't coming online on Instagram. I was only coming online on Twitter. My Instagram was just dead. I wasn't posting. I wasn't creating content. I used to create content a lot on my 2 Instagram. I had 2 pages, and I used to create content a lot across both, and I stopped creating content. Even my TikTok, I used to create content, and I just stopped because I just felt like it was draining, and it was a lot, and I needed my time back. I needed my space back. I felt like if I was going to be online so much because of work, then let it be just work. I didn't want to be online all the time. It was already an occupational hazard because I had to be online. So I didn't want to extend it. I wanted it to limit to just work hours. And so during work hours, I'm online from 9 to like 10, 11, and then I'm not on socials till maybe 3, 4 p.m. And that's it. And then after work hours, I may not stay on socials, I will just go offline, or sometimes I will stay till like 9 and I'm done. So I learned to set boundaries. I just learned to create a system that works for me because I was tired of consuming so much content and I was tired of seeing so many things that I didn't want to see. Another thing I did was to create my feed. So now my Instagram is curated to the things that I like. I love to watch a lot of wedding videos. I love to watch a lot of family type of content, so mothers and their kids, family couple videos and stuff like that. A lot of healthy, clean stuff. I love to watch a lot of music stuff. So my feed is created with stuff from Christian artists, mostly Christian content creators, Christian artists, family units. I try as much as possible to stay away from anything controversial, anything that I know that is going to take away from how I feel about myself. You have to create that experience for yourself. You have to sit and say, this is what I want to see and this is what I don't see. And I'm not afraid to use the block button. I block on Twitter. If you bring anything nasty to my feed, I will check your profile. I will check the people that you're following. If we have mutuals, I will unfollow every single one of them and then I will block you. That's how I function, because I feel like if I block you, it's not enough. The fact that you are on my feed or I'm seeing you on my timeline is because somebody else has engaged with your content. And so if that person is engaging with your content, I need that person out of my timeline. I don't want to see anything from them. I don't want to see anything from you. I also block ahead of time. That's the system. I don't block when I have interacted with you. I block before I interact with you. I don't want to ever have some form of interaction that will bring nasty stuff to my timeline. So once I see, maybe even we may not even have any direct contact. Maybe somebody has quoted your tweet. I'm not even following the person. You know how sometimes the timeline, if something's trending, it just brings it to your timeline. I've created my feed to be healthy, to be clean, to be focused on Christian content, Christian tweets, health stuff, what's it called? Interior decoration, food, sports, marketing. And so I need it to stay that way. And books as well, right? So anything that just sticking out, once it's sticking out, I check it out. This is really sticking out, I block. If I'm going through, maybe a tweet has gone viral, I'm reading, maybe somebody on my TL makes a tweet, I'm reading, I see somebody just comes, gives a nasty comment or just say something out of line, I block. Because I don't want to ever have an interaction with you in the future. I don't want to ever see bad content on my side of the TL. If you're upset that I block you, block me back. It's as simple as that. Do you get? So I think just being very intentional about what you want to see, about how your feed should be, being very intentional about what you're feeding yourself, what you're receiving, because at the end of the day, you still have to stay online to do research, you still have to stay online to create content, you still have to stay online to learn from other people. So for your own personal self, create a system that protects you. And then for work, understand that if I'm searching the internet for work, these are the pages that I will go to, or these are the profiles that I will visit, and that's it, right? I don't follow all those blogs. I have never followed them. I don't follow them. I currently have a lot of them blocked. All of them, they're all blocked. So I don't ever see anything from them again. And that's just how I want it to be. I hope that I have answered that question and I answered it well. Now let's move to the heartbreak question. This one, how do you deal? Okay, this is going to be the first time I will say this. I struggled with an identity crisis after my relationship ended. Not necessarily like oh, I don't know who I am. I think the issue was I knew who I was at the time, but I didn't like their version of myself. So I wanted to be better. And so I struggled with reconciling who I currently was at the time and reconciling it with who I wanted to be, right? Crossing that bridge, becoming better, healing from the heartbreak, not holding grudges, and just really moving on from the entire thing. I struggled. One of the things that all of my friends, my very close friends, told me or taught me to do was to give my hurt back to God, right? Not back to God because God didn't give it to me, but to give my hurt to God and to tell Him, to always communicate and tell Him, this is how I'm feeling. This is what this person has done to me. I don't know how to handle it. I don't know how to deal with it. And so that's one of the things I did. But I will say this though, I wallowed. I wallowed for a very long time. I was hurting. I was broken. I was angry. If anything, I was very upset. I was so upset. Oh no, God sees my heart. I was angry and I let myself wallow in that anger for such a long time that it took me a while to find myself. It took me a while to find my footing. It took me a while to become happy, to delight in the things that I liked or the things that I delight in, right? It took me a while to get to point B. Just because I allowed myself to wallow in my pain, in my shame. I felt shame. I felt foolish. I felt so foolish. Like, how could you let this happen to you? How could you let this person deceive you again? How could you let this person do this to you again? Because this person had hurt me so much, and I let them. And so it took me a while to move from that and to forgive myself. So sometimes it takes a while, right? But one thing I would say is, do not wallow like I did. Do not stay in it. There's this thing they say, oh, when you fall into shit, don't stay there. Pick yourself back up so you can wash yourself. I stayed in it. So do not stay. That's nasty. Do not stay there. Get back up. I'm not saying move on to the next best thing or move on to the next relationship. No, I'm saying just don't stay there. Get up, dust yourself, and then maybe you can sit and start to figure out your next move or what you will do next. Speak with people that are very close to you. Speak with your friends. I had my friends, my sister, my family. Speak with your friends. Always communicate how you're feeling. You can write about it. I think that helps. That's an outlet. Write about it. Speak. Pray about it. Very important. You need to pray about it because it will take the grace of God to help you forgive. And do nice things for yourself. So there were a lot of things that I didn't do for myself when I was in a relationship. So I said, oh, why not now? So start doing them for yourself. Go out as often as you can. Take yourself on solo dates. Buy yourself ice cream. Like, just do nice things that will make you feel whole, that will make you feel complete, that will make you feel sweet on the inside, make you feel giddy from the inside out. Buy yourself a book if you love to read. Watch your favorite crime docu-series if you're like me that likes to watch crime documentaries. But just do things that you know that they bring you joy. And dissociate from that person. Dissociate from everything that has to be that person. So one thing, I blocked everybody that knew the person. I unfollowed them. I blocked them. I deleted their numbers. I didn't want to see anything about that person around me. And so, because I needed to move on, I needed to heal. And so that those were things that I did. But I will say pray. I will say pray. I will say don't wallow. I will say surround yourself with things that make you happy, that make you excited, that make you feel good. Do not isolate yourself. And most importantly, do not feel shame. It is not your fault. Maybe, I don't know, the circumstances of heartbreak, whatever it is that you're going through, but do not feel shame. Do not feel shame. I think it's it's a normal response to feel shame when, a relationship ends or you think, oh, it's my fault. Oh, could I have done better? No, don't do that. I did it to myself. No, do not do that. Do not let yourself stay there. Do not let yourself get there. It's going to be really hard to get out. Do not let yourself get there. And just accept it has happened. Like, you can't fix it. You can't change anything. Don't go back. Do not go back. I will say, honestly, I know that it sounds a bit harsh and it sounds like, what if the relationship no, I would say do not go back. I would say give it a few years. I would say give it maybe 3-4 years. Then you can decide if you want to go back. Because in that moment you're feeling a lot of emotions. And so if going back is an option, you will take it. And it doesn't always mean that's the best decision for you or that's the right thing for you. Because I learned the hard way. That's not always the best decision. That's not always the right decision to make. Moving on is more important than going back. And you do not have to get closure. You do not need I didn't get closure, and you know what, that's fine. I don't want closure. I don't need it. I think I got all the closure I needed from my healing process, and that's fine for me. Like, I don't want closure, and just leave again. Just leave again. That's what I will say. Just leave again. God, I really hope I'm doing justice. You people. All right, so the final questions: what can you do to continue being on fire for God, especially when everything happening around you is demoralizing? So let me be a bit honest. This is 2024, so it was last year. It was 2022. Yeah, I think it was, I've been single for about a year. So it was definitely not 2022. It was at the start of 2023 in January. And so I struggled. That's like one of the after effects of this heartbreak thing. I struggled. I struggled with devotion. I was ashamed. I was really ashamed. I was ashamed because I felt like I should have listened to God. I should have been more discerning. That's the word I'm trying to say. I should have been more discerning. And so I felt shame. I felt like I failed in my relationship with God. And so I struggled with devotion. I was ashamed to come to the Lord. I was ashamed to hear from the Lord because I felt like even if the Lord says something to me now, what's the guarantee that I'm hearing right? What's the guarantee that I will do what He's saying? And so I struggled. Thankfully, God is so merciful. I later found my footing. I would say that one of the things that has helped me is to be in a community of believers. So I'm in a Christian girl community, right? Christian girl, Diary of a Christian Girl community. That's the name of the community. And I will say also having believers as friends. Being surrounded by people in the faith can actually help when you're struggling because you will draw strength from your brothers and sisters. You can confide in them if there are people to confide in and tell them what your struggles are, and they will cover you in prayers. They will hold your hand and help you back up on your feet. So I will say surrounding yourself with community, that's helped me. Another thing I will say is always going to church. The times when I felt so much shame that I couldn't go to church, I realized that I struggled even more. But when I told myself, give yourself brain and start going to church, and so I started going back to church. This is something I have never shared anywhere else. Oh my God, this podcast. You people make me say things, and you people make me so transparent. I don't like it. I don't like people. I'm joking. But yeah, I was literally dying inside. And so I knew that I needed to turn to God. And I did. I went back to church. I would force myself. I would go to church. I would listen to sermons, even though I didn't want to be there. Even though I didn't want to hear it. I sat there. I heard. And thank God. Thank God for God. The words penetrated my heart. I started to feel like myself again. I started coming back to church. And, I started reading my Bible again. I started praying again. And so I will say, do not stop going to church. If you have to change church because everything around you is demoralizing, if you have to go to a new campus or maybe you have to go to a new church entirely, I would suggest that. The important thing is that you do not stay outside the flock. You're reading the flock. There is safety in the church. There is safety in the flock. There is safety amongst your brothers and sisters. Do not stay in isolation. That's what I would say. And understand this. Prayer is, I think a lot of times we look at it as, it's a duty. How do I say this? Like, we officialize it so much that it becomes like a chore. That's what I'm trying to say. It becomes like a chore, something you just have to do. Another thing to tick off the box, but it's not. It's a life source. It's a Christian lifestyle, or it's a lifestyle. It's an extension of you. It's who you are. A prayerful Christian is a Christian, right? So that it's not a prayerful Christian and then a Christian. A prayerful Christian is a Christian, right? It is who you are. It is your character as a Christian. It is an extension of you as a Christian. And so it is something that you have to do. It is something that symbolizes that this is who you are, so to speak. Just like how everything about you changes when you receive the life of Christ Jesus and you put away the old man. Prayer is a part of one of the things that you put on. I hope you're getting what I'm saying, Sha. But it's one of the characteristics or things that define you, right? Just like studying the word nourishes your soul. So let me give this analogy. Studying the word nourishes your soul. So take, for example, the word is systemic of the word. And then as you grow from being a baby, start to eat the meat of the word. Prayer is like water that washes it down. That is as simple as I can make it sound. So it's something you have to do. Studying is something you have to do. It's not something that is outside of. It's not a choice. It's not an add-on. It is you, who you are as a Christian. It embodies prayer. You have to embody it. You have to embody studying. And so, surround yourself with community. Do not isolate from the church. Study, pray, even if it's boring. Another thing I do, I listen to sermons. So, as you're listening to sermons, scriptures are being expounded. You are opening your Bible, you're following, you're expounding scriptures as well. And then, I don't know about other churches. For my church, there's always a period of prayer before sermons and a period of prayer immediately after sermons. So, in those short times of prayer, you pray and edify your spirit. And then that thing continues to linger even after you have finished listening to the sermon, such that during the day, as you remember that sermon, you are stirred to pray again. So, listening to sermons, it will help. You can also tell a brother or a sister, preferably if you're a girl, a sister, if you're a guy, a brother, God help us, God bless us. Tell a sister or a brother to, pray with you. Create prayer times with them so that they help you be more consistent. Tell them, I need somebody to always pray with me at this hour or during this time, because I currently struggle with keeping up and being consistent. Find somebody that is consistent, not somebody that is inconsistent, and somebody that would always stir you. And so you do that. I really hope these things help. Honestly, I don't know if it will, but I pray and hope that it does help. I pray God helps you, right? I pray God helps you. I don't know if my answers have done justice to the question. I really hope that they have. Let me know if they have, and if you have more questions, you can always send me an email. Don't forget, either you send an email to selfscapepodcast@gmail.com, or you can send me messages on social media and I will respond to them. All right, thank you guys so much for listening. Have a wonderful weekend. Look forward to the next episode. I don't know when I'm going to talk about it, which of the episodes, but I want to talk about a struggle I had gone through recently. I also want to talk about the final parts of my National Youth Service program and just like my experience, and just wrap it up with NYSC. I haven't talked about it before, but yes, if you haven't gotten your ticket to Believers Bond, please get your ticket to Believers Bond. Believers Bond is a Christian community experience, right? This is where I believe my first Believers Bond was where I made more Christian friends. I'm not even lying. I went there without a lot of Christian friends. I came back home with more. So Believers Bond is where you actually meet people, connect, get to know them, listen to good Christian music, also have a panel that addresses a lot of your concerns and questions. So if you haven't gotten your ticket, please get your ticket. Ticket sale is closing really soon, and Believers Bond is literally in 8 days. It's on the 19th, right, which is on Saturday next week. So you don't want to miss this. I will be there. The entire Jesus Talks Media team will be there. I will be there. So if you want to get to meet me in person, this is your chance. This is your chance to come to Believers Bond. I will be expecting you. Get your ticket. You can get your tickets from Believers Bond on their Twitter or Instagram, or you can check the Jesus Talks Media on Instagram. The ticket is linked in our bio. Make sure that you get your ticket to Believers Bond. I'd love to see you there. I hope that you'll be able to come. I hope that you'll be able to make it. Look forward to that. I'm excited. I hope you're excited too. And I will see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful weekend. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all your love and support. Bye, y'all.